All right, and we are live. Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Tuesday to you all. And for those of you yesterday, I hope you enjoyed the eclipse if you were anywhere near it, and especially if you were in the path of totality. So, I guess happy post eclipse day. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. You are live with Dr. Terralon. I am a board certified family physician, a TEDx speaker, a best selling author, and a career coach. And I help busy docs find joy in their careers again. I am so happy, so happy to be talking today with one of my favorite people. She is Dr. Monique May. Some of you may know her as a physician in the kitchen. So, yay, Dr. Monique. Thank you so much for joining me. I am going to give you a little bit about Dr. Monique and then we'll jump right in. So, just a little bit about Dr. Monique. Dr. Monique May, the physician in the kitchen, is a board certified family physician who enjoys helping busy households embrace healthy plant based eating without impacting their hectic schedules. I love that. After practicing clinically for about 20 years, she embarked on her own plant based journey. Dr. Monique then attended a vegan culinary school where she learned how to prepare plant based meals that are both delicious and healthy. She is a counted two time best selling author, and her first cookbook, Doc Fix My Plate, The Physician in the Kitchen's Prescriptions for Your Healthy Meal Makeover, is now available. So, just a little bit of more about Dr. Monique. She is a former Tar Heel. She fell in love with Charlotte, which is where she is now. She completed her medical school training at Temple, and then after that, returned to the Charlotte area. So, Dr. Monique, and I forgot to say, which is probably most important, you are a native New Yorker. Did I say it right, New Yorker?
New Yorker, you did.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Monique, for joining us. Take it away, Dr. Monique.
Thank you so much, Dr. Terralyn, for having me. It's always an honor and a privilege to be able to come and just share information and talk. So thank you for the invitation, and thank you to your viewers.
Well, I mean, honestly, I can't wait for our viewers to hear more about you. So, as you know, and many of you know, that this show is really about showcasing what amazing doctors do inside the hospital, inside the exam room, and beyond. And I think Dr. Monique is a great example of doing amazing things both in and outside the exam room. So, Dr. Monique, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Because it's not often that we meet a doctor who's also a chef. So, tell us how you got to that point.
Sure. I'll give you the very brief version. So, as you mentioned, I'm from New York, but my family, my parents are from Alabama. And so, and I was very close with my maternal grandmother, Louise. And as the oldest granddaughter, I was spoiled by her. And so she would, when we would either go south to visit or she would come to New York, she would always cook for me. And then when we weren't together, she would actually ship me her sweetbread, this plain vanilla cake that was just so delicious. So through the years, it was so funny because as I went through high school and in college and med school, wasn't really didn't really have a lot of time for cooking, but always enjoyed just the camaraderie and the closeness I felt to her when her little care packages would arrive. And so unfortunately though, lost her um, to complications at a young age, 67, lost her to complications from stroke, brought on by hypertension, obesity, smoking. And so that kind of combined with my 20 years of clinical practice of, coaching patients on, how to make best decisions, 15 years as a primary care physician, and then 5 years as a medical director for occupational medicine and urgent care. I was always in that role of coach, and, this is the information you need to make the best decisions. So that plus my kind of, my grandmother's genes of cooking and my joy for cooking, all that. Plus, in 2020, I turned 50. This little thing called the pandemic hit, and I wanted to go into the second half of my century that I'm claiming as healthy as I could be. And so I just kind of started educating myself about food and how it's made, what we're eating, what we're putting in our bodies. And so came to the decision that a plant-based diet was more aligned with what I wanted to accomplish. And so hence the physician in the kitchen was born, because as a physician, I'm often in the kitchen. And so it just kind of came together. And as you mentioned, I enjoy helping people discover, cook, and eat delicious plant-based foods. And, without spending a lot of time, without spending a lot of money, when if need be. And then also just my mission is to fix America's health one plate at a time. And so through the book, my speaking, my social media, all that stuff, that's how I do that.
That's awesome. So, I do have a question for you because it's hard enough for those of us who are trying to stick to just a regular healthy diet, but to convert to plant based, I'm sure that was challenging. As many of us have tried and not have been so successful. What is your secret, or what do you think the secret is to being successful with a plant based diet?
Sure. No, it's an excellent question. It's one that I get a lot. And everyone's journey, of course, is going to be different, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I was never really a big red meat eater. So that wasn't that hard for me to give up.
Mhm.
I did some chicken. I probably would say I ate more fish. I love salmon, some shrimp here and there. So, but for me, it was really just adding more plants, more fruits and vegetables. And I just kind of did it cold turkey, quite honestly.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, there are a lot of labels floating around. There's vegan, there's plant-based, there's vegetarian, and people can kind of get a little confused. Real quickly, vegetarian means that you don't eat red meat. You may eat chicken or fish. Um, but like you may eat eggs, you may eat dairy, excuse me, you may eat dairy, you may eat, drink milk, eat eggs. Vegan is completely plant-based, but not just the diet, is
Mhm.
also more of a lifestyle. So
Mhm.
they don't wear leather. They
Interesting.
don't wear things like even wool, because it comes from sheep, or silk,
Mhm.
because it's made, from worms. And they don't eat honey, so because even though the bees are not killed, they don't want to have anything to do with the kind of like the exploitation of animals. So for that reason, they also don't go to things like SeaWorld and zoos and things like
Mhm.
that. So vegan tends to be more of a lifestyle. So I prefer the label. If you have to have a label, I prefer plant-based, which means the majority of my food is comes from the ground. Now, does that mean I never eat a piece of fish if I want some salmon? No, because I don't live my life in extremes where you can never eat this and you can never
Mhm.
do that. There's a few exceptions to things you should never do, but generally speaking, um, I don't subscribe to that. If you want to have a piece of fish, try to have the healthiest raised and prepared form of the food. But yeah, but for the most part, 7 days a week, the majority of what I eat is plant based. So for me, it wasn't hard. For people who are kind of struggling, as you said, I say start where you are, and just if it's just one day a week, if it's just one meal a
Mhm.
day, just start somewhere and be more. I think what be more conscious and be more mindful about what you're eating. It's in the hustle and bustle of all the things that we do, all the hats that we wear, all the roles that we play. We often give short shrift to probably one of the most important things that we do, which is eat.
Mhm.
Right. And so what does that mean? It means eating on the go. It means eating in your car, eating processed foods, eating a lot of empty calories, eating all times of day and night, all those kinds of sabotaging behaviors that show up in your waistline. They may show up in your cholesterol line, show up in your hemoglobin A1C if you're diabetic. So being really more starting with a mindset is really where I tell people kind of to start. Identify your why. Why do you think you need to go plant-based? Is it, your doctor told you? Is it bad stuff runs in your family? You're tired of your knees aching, whatever it is, you want to be here for your children. And then that's going to give you more success. That gives you that buy-in, because when you internalize and it really comes from a place of why you're doing it, then you're probably more likely to be successful. And then there's things like meal planning and shopping, and you know not eating when you're hangry, right? Because then you want to
Mhm.
eat everything. All these different kinds of things. Staying well hydrated, drinking water, because we often mistake hunger for thirst. So all those kind of things kind of play a role. But the short answer I would say is start where you are. And if it's one meal You can set a SMART goal, right? The SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relatable, and timely. And
Yes.
you say, I'm going to eat one plant-based meal a week for 4 weeks, or what have you, so that you have ownership and control, and you don't feel overwhelmed and think you've got to do all the things at one time.
That's great. That's such great advice. Now, you are working on multiple things. I mean, I've had your delicious vegan cakes. I know that you are working on some other products. You are educating. You are not just on social media, but on TV. So, just tell us a little bit about how you're helping, the many ways that you are helping all of us learn how to um, eat plant based or incorporate plant based a diet into our lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the day and age that we live in, we're fortunate. Social media can it kind of be a double-edged sword, but the positive side of it, I think it takes us as physicians from ministering to or treating the one-on-one in the exam room to the one to many on your social media platform. And so with that, I just basically talk about kind of, in fact, when I get done with you, I've got to record some YouTube content. So be sure to join my YouTube channel, Physician in the Kitchen. But I just take things that either people submit, questions that they have, or newsjack, something that was in the news that people have
Hmm.
questions about, and just really try to, break it down into bite size, no pun intended, content that people can relate to. And so I think, yeah, and I blog as well, and so it's just a way of getting the information out there so people can find it, they can access it and consume it when there's another food word. I don't know what my issue is, but they can, and then I want to say digest. It's out of control. Where people can use, how about that? People can use the information, at the time and the place that's convenient for them.
Now, just how I am interested in how you marry. How did you come up with the concept to marry medicine and food, or medicine and cooking, or medicine and um, just becoming a chef? How did you come up with your whole mission of Physician in the Kitchen? I understand your journey, but how did you finally settle there and figure
I
out this
think
is what I'm meant to do?
Yeah, I think the universe steps in at the right time. It's so funny because, like, the way I ended up at the plant-based or the vegan culinary school, a good friend of mine, who's a chef, and she knew I was thinking about this whole plant-based thing. So she's like, "Hey, did you know there's this online school that we could take classes?" So the plan was for us to be in it was the first cohort of the online program. It's an established school, Escoffier, Auguste Escoffier Culinary School, been around for years, very well known, but they were launching their online vegan platform. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because this is during the pandemic. So, I had some time. And unfortunately, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to,
Oh.
deal with that. Thankfully, she's, fully recovered. But I went ahead and did the class. And so it was the course. So it was so, just a kind of another like nod that I'm heading in the right direction. And I think, for me, I've always cooked. I mean, I'm a child of the 70s. I remember having a little easy bake oven, standing at the oven, making little cakes and, copying what I saw my mother or grandmother do. Um, and then, again, as I got older and got busy with life, school and residency and so forth, kind of stepped away from it.
Mhm.
But then it just all kind of came together. And I think the main thing is, as a physician, really kind of just taking a step back and thinking, really let food be thy medicine is the
Mhm.
quote. And it's because if food is your medicine, then you won't need a lot of medicine or something like that. I'm totally, chopping it up, but basically what we eat affects us, good or bad. And, we're seeing so many problems in this country related to what we're eating. And then watching, some documentaries and some programs about how food is processed, how meat is processed, additives that are put in the food. It really just made me like, it was eye opening. Because I'll tell you, back when I was in med school and residency, we didn't get taught this, right? And
No,
I think
intentional.
there's some schools that offer it now, but I know when I was coming along, we didn't. If someone came in the hospital with diabetes or heart failure, we consulted the dietitian,
Yes.
give them a 1,800 calorie ADA diet, give them a low salt diet for their heart failure, a low protein diet for their renal failure, what have you. So we as a physician, we weren't educating our patients. Like we didn't learn that stuff ourselves. But we were kind of outsourcing that. And I was just like, kind of thought later, like, what a waste, what for us as physicians not to be imparting that information. And I know time constraints and reimbursement and all of that,
Mhm.
but for physicians to have at least a rudimentary understanding um, of the benefit of food. And, we know things like, oh, if you're on blood thinners, you can't eat a lot of leafy greens,
Right,
or
right.
if you're on a certain cholesterol medicine, watch your grapefruit juice intake, things like that. But I'm talking about just ways to prevent disease versus, now that you have this diagnosis, here's what you do about it. So all of that, I think, for me was just kind of a natural outgrowth of that because I come from a family of women of cooks on both sides, and so now I've been kind of going back in my cookbook. I have a couple of several recipes that are family recipes. My mom's actually, I don't think the dressing's not in the book, but like my mom's Thanksgiving dressing, I veganized it. Her potato salad. I mean, different things that you can tweak,
Mhm.
and baked southern baked beans, and you still get the flavor without the meat product. So when I made my dressing, my mom tasted it and she said, "This tastes like Thanksgiving."
Oh, wow. That's the highest compliment, I'm sure.
Isn't
Yeah.
it? And so, and but it was completely plant-based. So, and then for me too, I'm like a food nerd. I love like experimenting. I call my kitchen my lab. I love, like this morning I woke up and I keep my phone, like everybody else, I keep my phone by my bed, and I had an idea for a salad dressing. I said, "Oh, let me write this down right now before I forget."
Oh, that's
And so I can't
awesome.
wait to like, it's like, oh, I've got an idea for this recipe. Let me go in here and see, how it'll come out. So I just enjoy it. I mean, it was all of the things for me. And I realize everybody doesn't have the time or the interest. And so I try to like make it, simpler for them so they don't feel like they're drinking from a fire hydrant.
Awesome. Now, Dr. Monique, who's your ideal client? Who are the people that you most that you can help the most and that you target?
That is an excellent question. And it's one I struggle with because my knee-jerk answer is people who like to eat food. But, obviously people who want to adopt a plant-based diet, whether for health reasons or not, just because they may want to, decrease their impact on the planet, the environment, or they have specific health concerns. The other thing with the product that I've made, I've created a vegan Worcestershire sauce, and that product, because it's lower in sugar and lower in sodium than some of the market leaders, is actually ideal for people who may have fish allergies. Because the
Mm,
reason that Worcestershire sauce is not vegan is it has anchovies, which are fish. And then the lower salt content is also good for people who are sensitive to swelling or may have heart or kidney problems. So, generally speaking, I would say the person who um, has a little extra time. Well, I'm sorry, not necessarily a little extra time. Has the desire to add a plant-based diet, and is looking for ways to do that. And so it could be typically working folks, right?
mhm.
People maybe with children or empty nesters like myself, and it really can be kind of anyone, but I would say because I get comments from young people, I get comments from older people, men, women. I mean, so it's the kind of thing where probably anyone who just wants to live and feel better, quite honestly.
Well, while we are talking about that, tell the people how they can find you. Tell us all about your products and where all the places we can find you.
Yes. So I'm on all the social media. So the TikTok, the Instagram, the Facebook. Please don't let my son see this because he'd be like, "Mom, you did not just say the
Please don't.
TikTok." But yes, I'm on the TikTok, and also YouTube as well. So all social media, and it's at Physician in the Kitchen. That's me, all one word. Um, the services I offer, so I have cooking classes, I have online cooking classes. You can sign up at cookingwithdrmonique.com. I have an online pantry consultation that I've just started called Doc Fix My Pantry. So Doc Fix My Plate is the cookbook,
Yes.
and that's at docfixmyplatebook.com. And then docfixmypantry.com is actually kind of a one-on-one consultation where, we get in Zoom and I look at your pantry and I say, hey, maybe you can swap out that for that. And that way, again, people don't feel like they've got to take everything out of the pantry and start over because that's just not
That
realistic.
is immediately what I thought. I thought, she's gonna see my pantry and say, "Okay, throw this out, throw this out, throw this out." But
You
I'm
know,
glad
I
to
will
I'm
tell
glad
you,
to hear you say switch this out for this because
yeah,
I like that approach.
definitely, definitely. And I people inherently, I mean, people kind of know what's healthy, but at the same time, you may buy stuff thinking it's healthy and it's really not as healthy as you think because the labels can be misleading. And so I kind of get into a lot of label reading, how to recognize words for sugar, words for milk. If you're plant-based and you don't want to have animal products, how to recognize things like that, fat, all that kind of stuff, trans fat, the saturated fat, the bad fats that we tell people not to eat. So it comes with a lot of education as far as, well, now that you know what you've got and this is what you want to look for when you go to replace it. And then, of course, I'm available for speaking and coaching and consulting. So, yeah, I can be reached easily on Instagram. Send me a message at Physician in the Kitchen, and I'd love to talk more.
And one other thing, you mentioned your products, so we can find you on all the socials at Physician in the Kitchen. But what about the products? You just mentioned your vegan Worcestershire sauce.
Yes.
I don't know if you're still baking those delicious cakes, but is there a place where we can order those things from you?
So yes, so I have been putting all my energy into perfecting the recipe for this Worcestershire sauce. So I'm branding it as vegan W sauce, hard to say but easy to use, right? And so yes, that can be found at veganwsauce.com. I will say I'm just like on the edge of mass production. And so within probably the next couple of months, we'll have have my store fully up and running. So when that time has come, there'll be a big announcement, and maybe I'll come back on and let you know about that. But yes, right now, I am taking orders, but because I've got other time constraints, I'm really focusing on getting the product mass produced.
Mhm.
But my store is physicianinthekitchen.net. And you can see that's where my books are, the sauces, and then the pantry consultation is docfixmypantry.com. And the specific website for the book is docfixmyplatebook.com. And then I also have a book about meal planning too called Meal Masters, Your Simple Guide to Modern Day Meal Planning. And that's on the website as well.
But it sounds like if we reach out to you directly, you can figure out how best to help us and then
Exactly.
direct
Yes.
us to one of your many products. So I am so excited. I hope everyone has learned something today because I sure have. I felt like you were just dropping gems left and right. And I
Thank
hope
you.
that you guys will like and share this because Dr. Monique is fantastic. When she says she's a physician in the kitchen, she really is. I have had some of her food. It is delicious. I'm a
Thank
chocolate
you.
lover. I love her chocolate cakes. So she is the real deal. Again, you can find her at Physician in the Kitchen on all the socials. And I'd suggest that you take a look at her pages, take a look at her YouTube channel, and hit her up if you have any questions. Did you want to close with anything, Dr. Monique?
Did I just thank you again so much. I so appreciate sharing this time and space with you. I will just say, since you're talking about how physicians, you focus on how physicians are kind of working outside the lines or
Mhm.
outside the box. My advice, if I may share, is find what's your passion, find what truly drives you, what you're truly interested in. We're seeing a lot of burnout, provider
Mhm.
burnout. And that shows up in a variety of ways, right? And so yeah, I know for me, my breaking point was one day I was at work at the clinic, and basically the other providers just left me with a clinic full of patients to see. And I came back from lunch and I just was like overwhelmed because I was like, well, where did everyone go? Like, this is crazy.
Mhm.
And it just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel valued. My peace is being disturbed. So do what you can to control your peace and find your passion and your purpose and walk and work within that. And I think you'll see that opportunities will come your way. And, you'll really feel like you're living your life the way you're supposed to, and good things will come from that. So that would be my parting advice.
Well, thank you. And I think everyone can use that. Thank you. I mean, I'm going to take that to heart myself. So thank you so much, Dr. Monique.
Sure.
Again, everyone, this is Dr. Monique May, physician in the kitchen. Please check her out. And I am Dr. Terralon, board certified family physician, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and career coach. And I help busy, burned out physicians find joy in their careers again. You can also follow me at Dr. Terralon on all the socials. That's at DrTerralon. And of course, I am available for coaching. I am available for speaking as well. So thank you all so much for joining us. And again, please like and share this with all of your friends. Have a great evening.
All right.
Bye.